I'm Emily Promise, and I'm a partner and a financial advisor with Blakely Financial. At Blakely Financial, we work as financial advisors and financial planners, and there are two key differences there. We do handle the investments for our clients, we are investment managers, but the main thing that we focus on for our clients is holistic financial planning. We're not your old school stockbrokers where we put you in investment accounts and that's it, but we look at you as a full human being. We take that holistic approach to all areas of your life. I'll serve as a trusted contact and a trusted advisor for my clients in every aspect of their life, not only for them, but for multiple generations. So whether that's grandparents down to the parents and the grandchildren, I work the full scheme of the family and really become intertwined to help with everything from taxes to estate planning. While I only manage the investments, I sit in on all the other areas of your life to make sure that it's one complete picture.
Bravo. I'm going to just start saying, bravo. That was so good. That was just so good. I'm
Shoot from the hip.
I always enjoy everyone's elevator pitches so that way we can get an essence of what you do. But I mean, honestly, that was just so well done. And I'm like, okay, we are going to talk about that in depth. But before we even do that, we just need to understand who Emily is. Right from the beginning, where are you? Where are you from? Let's talk from when you were younger all the way to the point where you're in college.
Okay. So I grew up in Marblehead, Massachusetts. I'm what you call a third generation header. My grandparents still live there. My parents live there. And I grew up in the same small town as well. It's a hard place to leave because it's just so unique. But even at a young age, my parents always said that I played with a purpose. If I was playing with Legos, I wasn't just playing around with the other children. I was playing to build something. I had a goal in mind. I had a plan set and I was going for that end goal. But so going up through elementary school, I was very involved in athletics all the way from kindergarten throughout high school. And that really has built the person I am today. It's built my competitiveness, the way I work within a team, and also just that drive and determination. In addition to being an athlete throughout my childhood, I also worked a lot of part-time jobs. I started working when I was 12. My dad owns a landscape business, and I used to help him do the sprinkler systems and small fixtures such as that. That then involved to umpiring Little League softball, to a camp counselor. And finally, I kind of got my real first job. That was when I was a senior at Marblehead High School, and I ended up interning for the Massachusetts State Treasury. Now that comes full circle because that really jump-started my interest in finance.
Okay, so wait, we're gonna pause.
Okay.
So let's rewind a little bit here. Okay, I live in Marblehead. This is where we met. I was so excited. I am part of an organization here in Marblehead, Marblehead Discovery, and Marblehead Discovery or Marblehead Discover.
Discover Marblehead.
Discover Marblehead. See, this is where we're here. Okay, and it was the most amazing group of people where we live in a small town. And we didn't realize, I didn't realize we had so many businesses that were owned by women, which made me so happy because we're all very heads down. And we all said that same thing. We're so focused, we're so heads down. And when we have a little bit of time to ourselves, family, friends, the whole entire thing. And so when we got together, we were all having the aha moments. So I meet Emily there. I go rock star all the way. Oh my God, we are going to be besties. This is fantastic. And she says, I'm from Marblehead. But I'm like, you have an accent. You have a Southern accent. Born and raised in Marblehead, and you have a Southern accent. So let's just start from the accent, but then I have so many other questions.
So the accent's a funny story, and I get it all the time. So I went to school in the South. I went to High Point University in North Carolina, and that is actually where I became a partner at Blakely Financial. They're headquartered in High Point. 4 years. It only takes 4 years, I've learned, to develop an accent. You will rid any other accent you have. I was in New York, grew up in Marblehead, never developed a Boston or New York accent, but by golly day, that Southern accent, it sticks. So that's where that's developed, and it's never gone away.
It is amazing because it is literally a tried and true, no joke whatsoever. I mean, I went to school for a millisecond, I should say, 3 years at University of Houston, and I was short. I was short 1 year. So 3 years, and then I moved to Australia. And so maybe that was like, I was bouncing out, but also I was first generation born Haitian. And so the French accent, I have a French accent when I'm speaking French, but then in English, you hear nothing because I was in theater. So between like you bouncing around theater, the whole entire thing, international family, never, like people are like, where are you from? I'm like, I go, what do you mean? They're like, we can't tell. I'm like, oh, good. I'm just kind of blanket state. 4 years and it is so distinct.
It comes on thick.
I'm impressed. I'm so impressed about that. I always ask people if you're an entrepreneur because of someone in your family, your dad, the landscaping, when you're saying like sprinkler systems and things like that, when you're talking about building playing with Legos, but you're actually building something, when you're talking about sports. Now, how do all those three things, like being an athlete, being a child, that literally, like I knew that if I'm doing something, I'm doing it to the end, and I'm going to make sure that when people see it, there's something. It's not just like a melee of toys. You're seeing something built. And then in landscaping, which is primarily a man's world.
Yeah.
So how did all those three things intertwine in who you are right now?
I think looking back at it, everything kind of happens for a reason. And I think they've all intertwined to me being in the position I'm in, specifically being a business owner, was because, originally I thought I wanted to do investment banking. So I did the corporate thing. I worked for the big bank on Wall Street and, tested that out, but I was missing something. And I think it's the ability to chart your own path, to determine, okay, with those Legos, what are you going to build? That's what I was missing. In this career path, I'm able to help people reach their financial goals, but I get to do it on my terms. I'm not an employee of someone else. I have the ability to help my clients in any way.
Yep.
And I get to chart my own path on what type of business I want to have. Me specifically, in addition to being a certified financial planner, I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. I work a lot with female clients and I work a lot with business owners. That's charting my own path. I'm not saying I'm going to work with everyone. I'm kind of narrowing in on a niche. I'm building my own future through this career path.
So that's where the Legos come in, building your own thing. In regards to team sports. Now, team sports it's a bonus for a couple things. So I was in track, and track is very much a singular. You're part of a team, but it's a singular sport versus a lot of team sports where you're getting a lot of that leadership. Your dad, we didn't mention your mom yet, but we're looking. So the leadership of your dad owning his business and you being part of that and watching it and guiding, that's your business skill sets that are being developed. The Lego, when you were younger, it started when you were young. Talk about the sports aspect of it, because when you're working by yourself, when you own your own business, you feel like you're on the ship and you have the paddles, you have the motor, there's holes, and I'm plugging holes with my body parts, and I'm still okay, I'm still trying to get ahead. So how did sports, and what sports were they? What sports did you play? But how did sports interrelate into who you are developing yourself to be? Not the business part, but who you are developing yourself to be.
Sports really, truly developed almost every aspect of me. I really like to think. I played team sports. I played softball and volleyball, a little bit of basketball, but clearly with my height, I wasn't too good at that one. So I stuck to the others. But actually, so I'm a business owner here, and I'm the head advisor, but I have a team of 10 individuals that work with me. Okay. So they are my right-hand gals and girls that help our clients fill all of their needs. And I think one thing with sports is that within your class, you have teammates that you work with, right? Mm-hmm. But there's always upperclassmen too, like in high school, that serve as mentors.
Yep.
That's like me in the position I'm in right now. I'm helping transition out one of the gentlemen in North Carolina who started the firm here. He served as a phenomenal mentor for me. So it goes back to that team, is that you're all working together, you're mentoring each other, you're all helping push the ship forward with one goal in mind. You're all working together in a sports environment to win the game. Here, we're all working together to make sure that our clients reach their goals. If they want to retire at age 50, we're all working together to make sure that they reach their objective. There's always a few people that are leading the team and leading that, but everyone's working together to make sure that we hit that finish line.
Without mentioning work, without mentioning school,
Yeah.
Talk about your time in Marblehead.
My time in Marblehead is something that you never forget, and it's very unique. And I feel like, I know you've traveled a lot and you go to all these other places, and it's just, Marblehead is so unique. The ability growing up to walk anywhere, to walk the causeway and see the water is the most peaceful and relaxing activity I can imagine, other than being on a beach. Like, there's beaches too. And I think it's just that small town feel. I'm not a big box store person. I love to shop local and to walk into the local Crosby's and know the person, in line next to you. There's just a feeling of unity within the community that I think is unique and you can't find everywhere.
I cannot, I agree with you, 100% agree with you, where I grew up in a town that is now, it's a city. So I grew up in Brockton, but Brockton was a town when I was there, and Rocky Marciano kept on fueling money into the city, into the town becoming a city. And I describe it and everyone's like, oh my God, Brockton's like a city. I go, it's so dangerous. I'm like, it wasn't like that when I was growing up there. And so I love that when I was growing up there, we didn't have to lock doors. We didn't have to lock cars. I laugh at my cousins and I'm like, yeah, we don't lock doors. They're like, what do you mean? I mean, I go, but it's easy to just lock a door. I'm like, I understand it's easy to lock a door, but I choose to be in a place where I don't have to. If I lock it, I lock it. If I don't, I don't. But I choose to be in a place because it is that feel of safety. It's like the enjoyment of when I look out my window. I mean, literally, I wake up in bed and I can see the reflection of different colors, and I run to the window and you could see that it's going to be the most spectacular sunrise. And I throw on my sneakers and I run a millisecond to the water and see the sunrise. And so it is, and then you see not just me. Everyone's like, oh, that's crazy. I'm like, nope, I'm not the only one. There's other people already, they've already beaten me.
They're way ahead of you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that, and also being at Crosby's and being at the ice cream shop, and our ice cream shop is open all year long because we are the people where, I think this is one of the things that cracks me up the most, where whether it rains, it snows, it sleets, everyone is out. Everyone's walking, everyone's by the ocean. There's a big, huge storm coming. People aren't hunkering down here. They're like, oh, check out the waves. So it is.
You got to go watch them. You got to watch the storms.
Got to watch the storm. You got to watch the storm. You're at the Barnacle, and there's a restaurant called the Barnacle, and I go, and literally the waves come crashing over, and people are drinking beer, and they're like, yay! It's like this. It's just such a fun place, and as well as all the corny things that we do that bring this town together, which is really nice. We call the Christmas tree bonfire. We call it the Christmas clock. I mean, just everything about it is just it is a quintessential New England town.
It is.
That makes it a lot of fun, where you're meeting someone where we are dramatically different ages. I've been here for 13 years. I have never seen you at all. And we meet and I'm like, oh my God, she needs to be my best friend. I like her a lot.
Now we'll just run into each other all the time because that's what it is.
Exactly. Well, what I liked about you the most is I go, you started talking. I'm like, oh, she has chutzpah. I go, she has spunk. I go, every single word I was thinking, she has zest. All these words started coming out, which made me so happy. We are in, let's just know we are in a very interesting point in time, in historical, not only because in 2008, it was the recession, the Great Recession. But now we rewind. We fast forward, we fast forward to right now, and we have the recession, different versions of a recession. We have the pandemic, and I always say pandemics because the recession, pandemics, equality, the mass exit of individuals in their jobs. People are reevaluating who they are, what they're doing. What does my future look like? There's so much going on. Before we get into what you do specifically for clients, can you talk about an individual that is, there's two people, all right? So individuals that were collecting unemployment, so they lost their jobs, furloughed, fired, couldn't get a job, etc. They are looking at their finances, they're collecting unemployment, they're trying to figure out, what do I do? Unemployment ends. I have just a small amount of resources, and I don't know where to go. So that's part one. Where do I start? I don't know where to go because I'm panicking. And then there's those individuals where 4.4 million people in April, May, and it continues, where I was getting paid 6 figures and above. But during the pandemic pause, I realized this is not the life that I want for myself. And I'm either looking to start my own thing, my own business, or I'm looking to do something else, but I have a limited amount of resources. So whether I was unemployed or whether I left my job, I have a limited amount of resources. Where do I start? What do I do? Because right now I'm spinning, I'm panicking, I'm looking at my house payments, my car payments, I'm looking at my kids. Where do I start?
So in
both very loaded question without talking about your job, but this is where I'm all of your experience and your resources and seeing what's happening in the world. What are your thoughts?
The thought is, any situation you're in, you need to have a game plan. I don't care whether you're still planning on collecting unemployment or if you're going to start your own career and be an entrepreneur. Either route you take, you have to have a game plan. And the most important thing is that you're aware of that game plan and you know the action steps to reach your end goal. What is your goal? First, determine your goal. Second, determine the action steps towards it. And third, make sure that it's actually accessible, okay? If your action steps are, well, I'm going to be on unemployment, well, at some point in time, that may end. So that's not a long-term career path for you. Mm-hmm. If your goal is to be an entrepreneur, it's going to take some time before you start earning money. So you need to make sure that you've got enough, like you said, I've got very limited resources. You need to make sure that those limited resources are going to be able to provide for you while you're on that quest for that end goal. Mm-hmm. So you just got to take a full circle view of everything that's going on to whatever your goal is to make sure that it's actually accessible to you. Does that make sense?
It does. I think that I think that someone that's listening to you right now is probably wondering, like, in my mind, I know there's supposed to be a strategy, but I don't understand, I don't understand how the strategy puts into play. So let's say we'll just go to the individuals that are leaving their jobs. So again, 4.4, we're having a mass exit of individuals that are leaving. They have probably, let's just say that the traditional 3 to 6 month worth of savings.
Yeah, you got their emergency bucket.
Yep, you have your emergency bucket, you have your rain bucket, like whatever you want to call that bucket, you have it. And you're sitting down and you're watching TED Talks, you're sitting through webinars, you're networking with people, but then you still have to stop. And now I have to start doing something. And so what do I do? So that individual that's leaving their job, I've been working in biotech. I have these skill sets. Maybe I want to become a consultant. Where financially, like marketing wise, okay, yes, we're going to go to Jodi. We're going to talk to Jodi. She's going to guide us on that part. But on the financial stance, what should I start preparing when I'm starting to build out a business for myself, whether it's a consulting or any sort of business? What should I start thinking about so that way I have that bucket and that the bucket continues to stretch out? So that way I'm not it's just not disappearing on me.
It's not sitting there. Exactly. So you got your emergency bucket and that's always step one. But then step two is to make sure that any other monies that you have aren't actually losing money for you. Okay.
Meaning?
Losing money for you means inflation and things of that nature. If your money's not working as hard as you are, it's not doing anything for you. Mm-hmm. Because in the long term, if you have extra cash laying on the sidelines, you need to make sure that that money is going to effective uses to, again, make sure it's working just as hard as you are. So again, if you're looking to enter in consulting, something that I would recommend you do is you search out someone who's taken that career path before, bring in a financial specialist as well, and talk to them about, okay, when you first got started up, how much did your first year and a half cost you? What did you dish out in funds? And you need to sit down and budget that out. There's a lot of things that people don't think about. They don't think about, all the bills that gets associated with, okay, even if you're working from home, you still got to get a phone. You've got to get, maybe a Zoom subscription. It's all these things that add up. So you need to sit with someone, again, who's charted this path already to kind of get a gauge of what their expenses look like. Mm-hmm. Once you have that kind of soft figure, you want to get with someone who's on your team, who's working with you financially to say, okay, I've got this figure. How am I going to save up for that or take the money I have to make sure that I have enough for that first year and then that second year and third year when maybe I'm not bringing in anything. So it's just making sure that you're fully aware and you have a full team with you, making sure that you're doing the correct things.
You just mentioned a team with you. What is that team? What does that team look like? And also, are these individuals that are mentors? Are these individuals that are a paid team? Like, what's the team that I should actually start considering? Because I think that's one of the things that we discussed when we first met each other, where my number one role is when people assume marketing, they're like, I go, oh my God, you do logos. I'm like, I go, no, my focal point is the humans, the human beings, as in your CEOs, the managers, the founders, your team, and your target audience. How does each one of those individuals succeed and create a legacy is my goal for you. Don't care about your thing. Don't care about your business. That's not what I've chosen to focus on. So when we were talking, I was saying, like, I go, my clients literally focus on they're working with me to focus on their legacy. They never think about the money thing. They think about making it. They don't think about stretching it.
That is the biggest thing, Jodi. You bring up the biggest point. And that's so often you see that with business owners, is that they're ingrained in the business. They're focused just on the business, which is great. That's what they should be doing. Yep. Just like you're focused on your business. But if you're just focused on your business, you have a very narrow-minded view, which is fine. But you need to bring in a team that expands that view for you. For example, let's go back to that biotech. Okay. He wants to start a consulting business. He needs a few mentors to help him start that business. He needs someone like you to help market him. He needs a CPA to help him from a tax perspective. He needs a lawyer to help him from a legal perspective. He needs someone like myself who would help him from both an investment standpoint, but also serve to connect all the dots for him. And he needs to make sure that everyone is communicating together. There can't be silos, okay? Even marketing. The marketing professional needs to be talking to the financial and to the accountant to make sure everything flows correctly. The mentor needs to be talking to everyone based on their experiences. If everyone's siloed, or if you're just out there on your island alone, like you said, trying to do it yourself, it's not going to succeed. You need that whole team working with you.
I love that you just said that, the whole concept of, like, you can't have individuals working in silos. No. I remember when I was working in radio and at Kiss 108, Matt would always say, like, I'm dying to meet these someone that wins the lottery. And because we want to meet you when you win, because usually, especially if the person is younger, they always lose the money. And it's because it's siloed and they don't have a team of individuals. So we always brought in experts, and they always say, like, make sure you have a lawyer that you trust, make sure you have a CPA, and make sure that you have a financial advisor. And the three of them should not know each other, because then one of them will hold each other accountable. And that means that your money will be there. And so then I took that advice. And now, as you know, you're in North Carolina. Wow, the NCAA has stopped. And, like, because of these kids. So now it's a pro and a con. The schools aren't making money off of these kids, but guess what? These kids are making a lot of money. They have no idea what to do with it. They have no advisors. So have you had situations, or what are your thoughts about how do these kids even come into, how do they even find you? How are they finding organizations? Because people assume financial advisors are mom and dad, grandpa. I mean, I have a financial advisor because grandma and grandpa made me. I go, that's the only way that you'll get the inheritance. Or I went to a seminar and a financial advisor like said something, and then now I'm paying them a huge fee and I'm seeing no return. So how does a young person get involved with, I want to make sure that whether if I'm Olympian, because as we know, Olympians, you work so hard, you get that gold medal, and they can't even pay their rent, and they're selling their medal. You've done all of this. You have all these kids that you're only as good as when you're in college, and you're not going to go pro, but you're making a lot of money during that time.
You gotta make it stretch.
Yeah. So how do they find you, and how do they understand how you will be valuable to them?
So one of the key things you said there was, everyone thinks of financial advisors as, grandma and grandpa, but that's that old school stockbroker metric. That's just looking at the investments for someone. Folks that are younger in age, that college athlete, they need to think of a financial advisor, not just as investments, but truly as kind of their personal CFO. Okay, they are getting someone on their team. Everyone nowadays is about that individualized approach. That's what I do, and my team does. We serve as a CFO for that client to help them with their investments, but we take a look at everything. We're not just, again, if you're an old school stockbroker, you're charging that, like you said, high fee commission. That's not how we operate. in terms of how they find us, you'll laugh, I'm quite younger in age and everyone thinks that social media should be my number one thing. I never used to have a personal Facebook, Instagram, or anything, but in this day and age, I've gone ahead and for business purposes and for the team have developed Promise for Women, playing on my last name on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, and the purpose of that, and what I've heard from talking with people is that they're looking for people on social media outlets. They want to make sure that you're relatable, but they also want to make sure that you're knowledgeable. So I post short clips or just short articles on financial topics, but intertwined with fun things. I'm an avid workout. So I post workout videos, I'll post some fun recipes, maybe some volunteer experience that I'm doing through that. But in terms of how they find someone, social media is an outlet, but whether they find someone in the dictionary, in the old school books, online, they want to make sure that they're looking for a certified financial planner. Whether, whatever route they go, they want to make sure that whoever they're working with is qualified to look at everything from a holistic nature, not just investments.
So with that, let's go into the nitty gritty of what you do. Who are your target audience? Like who are the individuals that you're working with the most? And I love that you have Promise for Women. I think that's brilliant. Again, as a marketing person, I love great marketing and I love horrible marketing. I go, you worked really hard to crash and burn that one. Or, this is good. Promise for, hello.
This one kind of came easily with the last name.
That worked out really well. I mean, who are the best clients? And what are these situations where someone comes to you and they're so gung-ho excited? What should they come in prepared for? So when I'm meeting you for the first time, I've met you, I've checked your credentials, everything's working. I go, what are the things that people are coming to you for the most part? And how are you adding to, how are you scaling what you're doing for them?
Yep. So my target audience, very broad, is anyone that is really looking for that holistic approach. Okay, they want that full financial planning. I work a lot personally with women, with business owners. Why? Because they're looking for that holistic approach. They want everything taken into consideration. What I provide for my clients is three things: clarity, insight, and guidance, all into their financial future. People that are coming to me and my team to work with us, they often have investment accounts at 3 different brokers. They've got an estate plan they haven't updated in 10 years. They've got life insurance they've never updated the beneficiary on. And they want to know, okay, I'm looking to sell my business in 3 years. I'm looking to retire in 5 years. I just went through a divorce. What do all these small things I have really mean to me? What I do and what my team does is we go through a comprehensive financial plan. We've got this great software that clients love because it's very compatible to them. We click and drag pictures down with all your goals, what you want to do. And we determine, okay, we take in all your assets, everything that you have, and we talk about how are all these things going to meet your needs? Are you able to meet your needs? And we do it in an approach that makes it easy for the client. Why have things spread out everywhere? There's so many more people to call, much more room for error. By taking everything, consolidating it, doing one comprehensive plan, one team to go through, to coordinate everything, to handle everything, you're simplifying that client's life, giving them peace of mind, giving them clarity to know that they have someone on their team to help them reach their goals. And it's actually tangible now because everything's not spread out. They don't know what it actually means. We're really putting answers around the mysteries that people have questions on.
Religion, politics, and money are 3 things that people don't talk about. They don't talk about, they're not truthful about, they argue about. Family and friends have broken apart because of. When people come to you, how do you take all that anxiety of talking about oh my God, I didn't save enough. Oh my God, I go, where should I be? They're like, I go, I'm at an age where I see my neighbor and they are here and I'm not there yet. What do I do? Will I retire with anything? Will I leave anything to my family? How do you take all that, the anxiety, all the misnomers, all of the things that we're not supposed to talk about, because this is what my grandparents, my parents, and like everyone has said, no, we don't ever talk about that. And now I have to come to you and be truthful. How does that work with you? Because you are a young woman. I'm sorry, listen, you're young, you're a woman, you're in the financial world. And I go, people don't like talking about money. So how do you sit there and take all of those, that huge bubble of, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. And this person's like in front of you and they're like, whether they're like, yeah, I'm in control, or like, I'm afraid. What do you do? I mean, because I feel that with a lot of our roles, I mean, whether you're a bartender, whether you're the hairdresser, whether you're the financial person, whether you're the marketing, you're the therapist well before you get to do your job. So how do you get someone to feel comfortable and able to be, this is how it's been, and good, bad, ugly, and different. I need your help.
Jodi, it's funny, I got into this field for finance, but I joke quite often, and I had heard it, but I should have gotten a second degree in psychology. Because the number one thing in this industry is trust and confidence. Those are two things that people don't hand out lightly. And I have to earn that trust and confidence of the client. The first thing I say to someone who sits down is that I don't need you as a client. I'm doing all right. I'm here for you. And this is a two-way street. There has to be trust. If you don't trust me, I'd be happy to recommend 3 or 4 other advisors you can go to. Yeah. If it's not a trusting relationship, it's not going to work out. Yeah. You go back to the plan. If I don't know the full details of your history, I'm going to provide you inaccurate information because you're not being truthful with me and with yourself on your finances. Yeah. But to break down those barriers, it's really providing an environment where they feel comfortable to tell me everything. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and there's no judgment. It's just everyone is different, everyone's customized, and everyone deserves that customized approach. You said, well, I see my neighbors retiring. You don't know their circumstances. No idea about their finances. Things can appear a lot differently than they actually are. So it's just providing the clients with the knowledge that we're here for you, no matter what it is, will help you get through it. You know what? If we put you in this financial plan, we go through everything and you're not able to reach your goals, it's not that you can't. It's okay. Now we're here to talk about, well, how are we going to get you there? Okay. It's not just a blanket, you can withdraw some silly finance rules. You can withdraw 4% of your portfolio and never run out of money. That's a blanket. Just a blanket approach. That's not customized to you. And when you take a blanket approach, you're not developing that trust. Yeah. That makes sense. So through here, it's just really, you have to develop trust with the client. And it's how they feel with you. You can they say within 30 seconds of meeting someone, you make an opinion on them. Yeah. So first impressions are important when they sit down and they feel comfortable. Everything from how they walk into the room, if it's on Zoom, how you're communicating with them before that Zoom. Yeah. Confidentiality is key too, especially in Marblehead where it's a small town, or High Point where the other office is in North Carolina, it's a small town, and they have to know that if I see someone in the grocery store, if they're a client, I either don't know them or I say hello to them, but there's never any discussion of finances. And again, that goes back to that confidentiality, which builds trust as well. Nice.
March 2020.
Yeah.
March 2020. I love just saying March. I think the 2 things I love talking about: March 2020 and 4.4 million people just walked away from their jobs. Those are my favorite conversations right now. March 2020. Where are you? What are you hearing? And how has the 18, 19 months been for you in regards of your business and for you personally?
I can tell you exactly where I was. I was on a business trip meeting with clients for annual reviews, and the market dropped. You hit buffers in the market, which means that it drops so much that then it has to take a pause and reset before it can drop some more. Well, I was there with my business partner, Rob Blakely, and we started making proactive phone calls to our clients. And it was a huge learning curve for me because I got on the phone with some clients and they said, hey, Emily, what's going on? I had no idea what was going on with the market. And it showed me that they had no idea what was going on with the market, and they weren't concerned either because they had trust, just like we talked about. They had trust and confidence in myself and the rest of the team that we were taking care of them. They knew their plan. We had mapped out their plan for them, and we had talked about, yes, there's going to be ups and downs throughout the market and throughout your plan and throughout your life.
Ups and downs are one thing. It was a full pandemic, crazy town.
Yes. And in the market, we dropped we call it a V. It went right down, but it came right back up, we really did not have clients panic because they trust us. Again, the clients that we work with, we're part of the family. We're been there throughout the long run. You asked about an ideal client a few times before. I don't work with people who are transactional in nature. Like Jodi comes in, you want an investment account and that's it. Yeah. I'm probably not the one for you.
Yeah.
Because I want a long-term relationship, because there are ups and downs, or like you said, there's huge ups and downs, which at that point you need someone on your team. You need to know, okay, I'm okay. Emily and her team, they've got me, they've got my back during that time.
How did you, so for you personally, you're taking care of your clients. You're between two states, two different rules of the states. Yes. You have your team, but how did you find that moment of pause to take care of you, to be able to take care of your team, to be able to take care of your clients?
It probably wasn't until about a week after everything settled before I was able to kind of take a deep breath and realize what was going on. And you think of things such as family. I have very elderly grandparents who I'm close with, and you think of, oh my goodness, first off, like you said, I'm between two different states. Am I able to see them? If something was to happen to them, that was probably one of my first thoughts was, if I'm in one spot or the other, how do I get back up to Marblehead if something was to happen?
Yep.
That was a thought. The team, it's how do you provide for the team? People look to myself and Rob to support them and their families. If we can't do that, we've, in my eyes, failed them.
Yep.
So you think of that, and then again, you think back to the clients and you think about how is this going to impact them in the long run? There was just so much unknown. And it's the small things too. Like I said, I work out quite often, and gym shut down. I was like, oh my Lord. I was like, whew. And on one side, like that's a huge stress reliever for me too. I was like, oh Lord, what am I going to do now? So it's just, it did take some time to take a pause and be like, my goodness, like what is going on here?
Yeah.
But then you bounce back and you're like, okay, it's like fight or flight syndrome, and you have to go into action. It's like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a course of action. You set up workers to work remotely. And fortunately, we can do that in this business for a majority of things, but it definitely was a time that was unforeseen in any world, as we all know.
I always giggle because, and I really do giggle about 10 years, 12 years ago, I was here where I was sitting in my MBA class at Babson College, and we asked our professor, like, hey, what's going on? They're like, we don't know. We have no idea. Like, we've never seen this before in our lives. I go, but we can tell you right now, you're overqualified with an MBA. We're like, what? Like, what do you mean? You have to go live with your capstones. I'm like, what do you mean? I go, that was a fake company for a grade, and now we're doing it for real because no one was going to touch us with an MBA attached to our names. But it was for us being at a school that's known for entrepreneurship. To have the professors say, we have no idea what's going on, and we're going to have to ride this out together. And then 10 years later, I get a certificate from Harvard University, and they're having a discussion of like 10 years ago. I'm like, I was there. Oh my God, this really comes full circle for me, knowing that I was there. I went through this, and now they're having classes about it. So I can't wait till they're able to talk about what's happening right now. In 10 years, it's usually a decade before they could put a real grasp on it.
Right. Very much so.
One of the things that happened during this entire time that was so interesting and obviously got a lot of attention. And I know you're right, you were right into that, was GameStop.
Oh yes, the GameStop craze.
People got to the point where they didn't know about financial advisors. They didn't trust financial advisors because of what they've heard in the past of what the reputation of the name financial advisor was, or they had no idea, how do I use a financial advisor? So they just Googled it and they decided, I'm going to go on to a Reddit. I'm going to try to figure out myself. And some people are doing well figuring out by themselves, but guess what? They have jobs too. So you can't, either you go into financial advising for yourself or you do your job. So it's just the back and forth. Some people, if they find it as a hobby, they enjoy it. But then there's those individuals that they go on, they're young, they're in college, they see it. We know that there was like a massive tragedy of a young man that took his life because the information didn't get back to him in a fast time, and he took his life because he's panicking, thinking, I owe so much money and I don't want my parents to deal with that. And so what are we doing? what is happening in the world of individuals doing it by themselves and getting the wrong information? Because online is like a pool of just good and bads. So what happens in that aspect? Because GameStop stopped, it really stopped so much, and it hurt so many people. It's not like the Madoffs of the world, where like back in the day, oh my God, Madoff stole people's money, the whole entire Ponzi. It's a whole different Ponzi.
Individuals did it to themselves, essentially. Yeah. And that's, we're in a time frame right now where I probably have, more information on stocks than you have available, but you have a lot of information available to you. Mm-hmm. But individuals don't know what to make of that information.
Right.
So there's an education gap. With that education gap causes issues such as GameStop. People start trading. They start trading on what's called margin. Like that young gentleman, unfortunately, thought he was trading on margin, which is borrowed money. As a financial advisor, I would never, recommend margin to someone who didn't have a job, who didn't have money or anything of that nature, without doing a full comprehensive overview. But kids get into it and they trade. And that's where, again, you come back to that team approach. Maybe you're a student. You need to focus on being a student. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're in work in biotech. Focus on that. Once you edge out too far, you can do basic investing, but anything beyond that, you really need someone to help you out, whether it's a financial advisor or maybe, a parent who's does it frequently, but you need someone, because otherwise you're going to hit tripwires. Yeah. The best example I can make is that I am not good at marketing. I'm just not. I wouldn't know how to do a Facebook post. If someone, told me, I'd probably create a new Facebook. Wouldn't know how to. So I hire people to do that for me. Mm-hmm. Yep. Technology. Probably could never set up a computer. I hire someone to do that for me. I'm aware of my limitations, okay? And that's where that team approach comes in, because it's, again, these kids that just go out and do it, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Or on the other hand, too, it's individuals that have accumulated, 6-7 figures of assets, and they're trying to manage it on themselves, have a family, work a full-time job, and it gets to the point of where they're doing themselves a disservice because their money's not working for them. Mm-hmm. Because they don't have the time. Maybe they have a little bit of knowledge and they can do it, but they don't have the time to do it. Yep. So, and unfortunately, you can see situations where GameStop was a very unfortunate situation. Someone lost their life, but in most cases, it's just you lose you lose quite a bit of your wealth to mismanagement.
How do you educate an individual to not go that route? Because again, everyone wants to make their money grow. Everybody. Yep. I mean, it doesn't matter if you are making $10 an hour. It doesn't matter if you're making $5 an hour. It doesn't matter what economic situation you're in. Everyone is trying to make their money grow one way or another. What's some advice that you give in regards of some very easy tasks? Because we're going into the brand new year. Yep. Cannot believe we were so obsessed with 2020. We were obsessed with 2020. Can't wait till 2020 is over. And I go, and like 2021, we were still in the pandemics, and I cannot believe we are in the end of 2021. This is insane. So just like everyone in January signs up to go to the gym, everyone starts thinking about what are my goals for 2021 financially? So what are some tips that you would say that people should start thinking about right now as we're going to the new year, as we're going into, we'll call it tax season, for them to get in their head in the game?
The number one thing is that you have to have an emergency bucket somewhere in a checking account, savings account, set aside 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Get that off the table. The next step is, how do you start saving for your future? So you mentioned tax season. There are a lot of benefits to retirement accounts. If you work for an employer, so you work for a GE or something of that nature, a big company, they'll have a 401k usually. 401ks are a great benefit to employers and employees because the employer puts money in for the employee if they put money in. So if I'm an employee and I have a 401k and I contribute, say, 4%, that company may match my 4% dollar for dollar up to 4%. So you're getting free money that you're not going to get otherwise unless you contribute, and you're saving for your retirement. And in a traditional IRA, in the 401k, it's a tax deduction. Can't really go wrong with that. It lowers your taxable income. Now, if you're a small business owner,
well, I was going to say, because that's who we speak to the most. So 99.9% of the world's economy are small businesses.
Oh, small business owners, they have 401ks are great for companies, people that work for those, but small business owners have the world of opportunities available to them.
Okay,
Jodi, we could do a whole session.
I'm going to pause you. When you just said the world of opportunity, no one has ever put the world of opportunity, small businesses, when it comes to financials. So just to hear that right there, just got my ears like, okay.
Oh my goodness. Small business owners with a smart financial plan, they really do have a world of opportunities for them. From a tax perspective, there are different types of accounts they can do. They can do a solo 401k because they're small, it's just for them. They can do a SEP IRA. And again, I know these are technical terms, but a SEP IRA allows an individual to put up to 25% of their income, or up to $56,000, into a retirement plan for themselves. Now, there are a lot of other rules that go along with it, but that's a great benefit for self-employed individuals. There's also what's called a simple plan that is for companies that have below 100 employees, small businesses, that benefits both the owner as well as their employees. So that's someone that really wants to take care of their small business and all their employees.
That's amazing. I think that's the biggest misnomer, where small businesses have no idea, because you hear about
they have no idea,
because 401k is always associated with a large business. I could only do that. And so the savings part of it, we're like, all right, I'll put it underneath my mattress. I'll then put it in the bank. I'll see no returns, or I'll try to figure it out myself. And so small businesses are leaving money on the table because they just don't know.
They're leaving money on the table, and they're also leaving potential tax benefits. So that's why it's important with a small business that you get your financial advisor, you get your business, whoever does your business tax return, and your bookkeeper, as well as your personal CPA on board. And you can craft a plan that works for you and your business. You just got to get that team together. And it's not hard because everyone else does the work for you. But you just got to take that initiative, say, you know what, I want to start planning. I work hard. You as a small business owner, you got to look at yourself and say, I work hard as a small business owner. I want to make sure that I'm making best use of my monies to properly plan, so I don't have to work this hard when I'm 100. Maybe you want to work till you're 90, but maybe you want that option that you don't have to. It's a want.
I would like to say I'm going to work till until I'm 90, but I'm going to do more things. The bonus of owning my own business is I get to do what I want to do every single day. And so I can't see myself stopping doing what I do every single day just because I just do it naturally. So it is, I'll probably work until I'm 90. And both of us have good genes. We'll be around. We'll talk. In regards to, I'm going to go back to small businesses as individuals. They're building up their team. They're finding people. They're trying to they're listening to you. They're like, okay, I'm interested. I don't need to know the number, but what's the percentage that I should invest in a financial advisor? Because going back to what the traditional of what grandma and grandpa used to have, I go, why give all this money to an advisor and I'm not seeing anything or I'm seeing incremental changes? what's the percentage? Because I always tell people where for every $1 you spend in marketing, you should have $3 for crisis management. And I go, it's like the insurance policy. It's in your hands, but you should have an escrow. You should have it in a bank, because you never know when something horrible is going to happen, and marketing dollars comes in, and you have to build a whole entire crisis management strategy. So what's the percentage that I or anyone should have in their cachet to work with an individual that's going to help them with their financial strategy?
So you talking in terms of how much you should invest, or the fee you should pay an advisor?
A little bit of both, maybe, because I mean, if I'm walking in and I'm like, we're doing the entire first assessment, and then what it looks like afterwards. So the two prices. What's the percentage or the price that for going in and like having the whole entire assessment? And then what's the incremental of when I'm continuing the relationship?
Yeah. So if someone comes to work with me, how I operate is a fee under management. So if I'm managing $1 million for an individual, it's 1% of that figure on an annual basis. So it's 0.25 basis points on a quarter.
Yep.
And that's the only fee. That's it.
Wait, what? What do you mean that's the only fee?
That includes our planning fee. So that includes all the financial planning. So that when you work with a financial advisor, that's the all old school stockbroker of 1995 a trade, those types of things. And that's where there's so much misconception, is that the way I operate is that someone comes in, they want me to manage their money. Okay, great. We operate as it's 1% for the first million, and then it drops down from there. But that fee includes everything. That includes planning. That includes me sitting in on your estate planning meetings, your CPA. That really is me being your trusted contact and your trusted advisor for every aspect of your life. And the reason it's set up like that is so that, Jodi, you're not like, I don't want to call Emily to ask her if I should refinance or something because it's going to be $250 an hour or $500.
Well, because people just assume the lawyer, like with a lawyer, it's the second you pick up the phone, you're getting charged, and then you become afraid of your own team. Yeah, exactly,
and that's what this is trying to break down. And also because that fee, say your account dropped last March, for example. Well, for that quarter, that 0.25 basis points, my fee, it dropped too, because your account went down. I'm on the same side of the table as you. Mm-hmm. We are all working together. If your account grows, great. My fee, I get the same percentage, but obviously on the bigger value. If your account drops, likewise. Yeah. Now, individuals that maybe don't have any money to invest, or are like, I still like to manage my money on my own, which oftentimes they change their mind, but if they start off that way, it's just a flat fee of $2,500 to do a full comprehensive plan.
Yep. I'm happy. So just brought me into a whole new conversation. And this is the second to last question. Is that you talked about promise for women.
Yeah.
Okay. One, how do you develop it? Number two, a lot of people didn't marry well during the pandemic. They found out a lot.
Oh, yes.
Divorce rates are extremely high because the world was the buffer, and now you're together. Although right now I'm jealous because I'm single, and I tell people, I think that you get your marriage license, you get married, and you have to go off for a month or two in a deserted island. You can still work, but you have to be in a deserted somewhere with your person to find out if it was really true. Because some people, it was a blessing. Some people is like, holy crap,
what did I get myself into?
Exactly. So now there's a lot of women of like, whether it's baby boomers, whether it is like younger than you and I go that they realize I wasn't in charge of the money.
Yep.
So my spouse I wasn't in charge. So then they're coming in, they're like, I don't know where the light bills are. I don't know where anything is. And they're like, I need help. They come to you. Outside of the, oh my God, I'm having therapy with this person, outside of the full on tears of my broken heart, as well as where do I go from here? I've never had a job. I went from instead of getting my MBA, I got my MRS, or my MR. And so now I'm coming to you and I'm thinking, holy crap, what do I do in this situation? I have no idea I have to look for a job. I don't know about my finances. Where do I start?
This is a huge area of passion for mine. And, obviously we're females here, but you always, well, he handles the finances. He does that. No, if I'm meeting with a couple, I always make sure she's there too, because she needs to know what the finances are, if she wants to be in the meeting or not. But if a female comes to me, it's okay. Where do we start? What do you know? How do the monies go? And I really help them go through the process of learning, okay, what are you spending going out? What were your bills like? And they uncover so much that they never knew. Sometimes people are like, I didn't know he had, 500,000 in the checking account, or I didn't know he had 100,000 of credit card debt. And you're there with them because they need someone to go through everything with them. And again, it's just that old school thought of some females just weren't a part of the finances, but it's imperative. It's imperative. You have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, whether it's divorce, death. At some point in time, females are going to be controlling their household finances. And it's important for them to have a team to go to make sure that everything's in order. A woman that just gets divorced, she has so many other things on her mind that finances are not top of mind. But you know what? When you go to see a divorce attorney, she's going to charge you more money to actually go through all your finances, because that's part of the divorce process. If you're not, it's called a financial affidavit that gets submitted when you file a divorce. You have to make sure that's accurate. So many times females will come out short because they didn't know what information to put on there. They weren't led. And you know what? Maybe their husband went and he had a better divorce attorney and his is filled out completely. Well, he's going to end up with an upper hand. Why? Just because of that lack of education. So I come in to really be that trusted advisor for clients to be like, okay, we start from ground zero. We go through the tiers, we go through all that. But again, you look at your expenses, you try to uncover everything and you ask the questions. You have to be able to ask the questions in order to get all the answers to everything that's going on.
We're going to put the divorce up there, right there with the death. COVID happened and a lot of individuals didn't have wills. And my dad died in 2015. And my mom was that mom, like baby boomer. My dad was older. But when he left, he put everything in order. There was a will where she walked in and she was not like my dad paid for everything, did everything. I mean, my dad was that old school guy where I take care of my women, like the best dad. And he literally had everything in order. So that way there was no question. There was no question or anything. But a lot COVID, surprised people where people died before all those things were all in their mind. Like, I'm young, or I'm of age where I don't have to worry about that right now. And so that was another thing where nothing was, a lot of people spend time in court trying to get access to numbers, access to bank accounts, access to a Facebook page, because they didn't have a plan.
Yep. And that's probably the biggest mental mind shift I've seen in clients since the pandemic, is that thought of, I've seen, friend Sally or Aunt Jodi pass away during the pandemic. And it gets them thinking, you know what? Emily told me I needed an estate plan. Emily, we need to schedule that meeting. Yeah. And it really made people think about the what ifs. What if this were to happen? What if that were to happen? I've seen a lot of couples come in where he used to manage all the finances, the husband. Yep. Well, the husband and wife come in and their first thing out of their mouth is, in case something was to happen to him, I need to make sure that we have a plan in place. I need to make sure that I know where the finances are. I need to make sure that I'm in control. And then you also see it too, where people have started thinking about their kids. So for instance, for you, it's your mom thinking, you know what? My late husband had everything all set up. I need to make sure that my kids know what my wishes are if I'm to pass. I need to make sure they know who my financial advisor is, who my accountant is, where my healthcare power of attorney is. It's got everyone thinking about these things, which really relates back to that holistic financial planning approach, is that you can't have everything all spread out. It's just too hard. If you have everything condensed and you have that one team to go to, that's what people are looking for nowadays. Because again, we've seen it. Yeah. Death can happen at a moment's notice. With COVID, you saw people going to the hospital. And, I had someone I knew, he went in and 9 days later, he passed away, completely healthy, and it just happens. And it's got people thinking about planning for those what ifs, which are usually hard conversations. I don't know if you have a will, but a lot of younger people are like, well, I don't need that. Nothing's going to happen. Well, they're coming in wanting to make sure, how you said to make sure our will. Yeah. Now they want to get it done because you just never know. Yeah. For clients that I work with, when their children turn 18, we have them get their estate documents done right away, because technically when a child goes to bed and then wakes up on their 18th birthday, they're a legal adult and they need the same exact documents that a parent needs. Yeah.
That's good to know, because again, an 18-year-old is not thinking about that at all. Oh, and no. when their parents are thinking about it for them, they're like, I go, why were you even, I'm not going to die. Why is this even a discussion?
Yep.
And then you're seeing like situations where what happened in Houston with the concert goers, and these kids were in college. They were in college, they were just going to a concert. And then again, 9 people passed away. And not to like bring this down, but I mean, it is one of those things where you don't know. You don't know. You go to, we'll call it climate, whether it's climate change, whether it's a concert, whether it's just like you just driving down your street. I go in our small little town.
Riding your bike.
You're riding your bike. Exactly. And I mean, we have accidents here all the time. Yep. And it is one of those moments where like, what are you driving fast for? Where are you going? And so it is one of those moments where people don't think about that, because again, they don't think about, we don't talk about financials. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about taking care of ourselves. And I tell all my clients, oxygen on you before anybody else. We're on a plane. You hear this. Actually, most people don't hear it because they're ignoring their like headsets. They're going to sleep. They're watching a movie already. But oxygen on you before anybody else is so important. So I am so happy that I met you. I'm so happy that you are now in my world, because I always tell people, if I like you, you're kind of stuck with me. So there
you go. Yeah. And going back to the death too, with small business owners, especially, you have to plan for your business too. If you were to die, and that's a whole other area.
Well, I always say, like, there's three ways out. You either get acquired, you crash and burn, or you sell it to an employee.
Yeah.
So what is your strategy? So everything I do for them, like, what is the end plan? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, we do marketing to what you want. So if you're going to get acquired, we have to do one sort of marketing because you want to get acquired. That means your personal brand has to be upstanding, because no investor is going to want to like be in the same pool with someone that's just kind of like mucking around.
Right.
We hope that you don't crash and burn, but when you crash and burn, you have to understand that you are the asset. You are still the skills. You're great. You may be horrible at running a business, but you still have all the skills that you may use somewhere else in the future. Once you're done with your Haagen-Dazs pity party, you're going to still do really great. All right. And then there's hi, I'm going to build a company. I'm ready to retire, or something happens. My employees take it over. I go, and I want to make sure that whatever they take over is amazing for them and for their experiences.
Yeah, very much so.
Kind of keep it easy. All right. So I have taken more time than I want to, but there's still so many things to talk about, but we'll do it at a later time. I always end the same way. So no matter how many times we talk to each other, not when we're talking personally, of course, when we're off doing our own thing, I'm not going to ask you these questions, but every single time we do talk on this podcast, I will always ask you the same questions, the same 2 questions. So last questions are 2 answers. If you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you right now, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask? They have to be 2 different answers. No cheating.
All right. My personal ask is, if anyone knows of any good workout classes, virtual or in person, please let me know. Always looking to try out new things. And then a business ask is, if you know anyone that's looking for that comprehensive approach to really have a team on their side, please feel free to send them on my way.
I love it. All right. So I definitely have people that are interested in you in regards of like, we've been talking about that. So I'm going to sit there and like keep thinking about that one. But the fitness one, I got one easily, and you can even watch them. So
I love the new ones.
Yeah, Trio Fitness, Trio. Trio. Fitness. They are 3 identical triplets in Philadelphia. I interviewed them. They are badass, amazing. They have online and offline classes. They're so much fun. And if you're in Philadelphia, people take classes because the 3 of them work in 3 different gyms. So people fly into Philadelphia and take all 3 of their classes at the 3 different gyms because it's fun. But they're identical triplets. They're the coolest guys ever. I saw them on TV, and I was like, I fell in love with them. I waited forever just to get them on, and literally one of my favorite interviews with these three, because they're the sweetest kids ever. Like kids,
I'll have
guys,
to check
men.
them out. Yeah.
Trio Fitness. They're awesome. So their classes are fun, great workout. I checked out. I mean, I haven't done any of them yet. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I watch it and
it's on the to-do list.
Well, it's funny. As I'm working, I have the fitness thing, and I'm like dancing, and I'm like, yay! But these guys were just so adorable, and I will promote them till the cows come home. And I have another girlfriend. So one of my girlfriends, Lisa, I interviewed Lisa, but then I interviewed her daughter. Well, Kelsey. Kelsey's in New Orleans, and she does online fitness as well. So I interviewed her. I interviewed both of them. So I'm giving you online classes.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. When are we? You're in North Carolina right now. When are you back home?
Wednesday.
On Wednesday. All right. So in between Thanksgiving or in between Christmas or in between New Year's, we will actually have lunch.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Shoot you over an email.
Definitely. Thank you so very much for saying yes. Thank you so very, very much for your insights, your thoughts. I love that you're wearing a Seaside Allure necklace.
It's the Marblehead Lighthouse in St. Christopher. You just typical Marbleheader. What can I say?
I was gonna say, I'm like, the entire time I'm like, I know where she got that. I go, because this is the great thing about shopping small. When you buy small, you know specifically where you got it, and when people look at it, I know where you got that. It's not like a big store where like I go, everyone's wearing the same exact thing. It's specific, it's clear, and when the second I'm like, I know what that is. There we go. St. Christopher, please come around. Something is lost and cannot be found.
Yep.
Catholic kid.
I know. What can I say? Star the Sea Church.
Have a wonderful day, my friend. Thank you so very much.
No, thank you too. And I'll shoot you over the rest of the stuff that goes with that email. And then why don't we try to get together after Christmas?
Okay, perfect. Sounds awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Take care.